All right, and we're back. Hey everybody. You didn't miss anything. You're right where you ought to be at the right time, at the right place. You are watching the 111th SongBike Guitar Q&A Livestream. My name's Jonathan, coming at you from the heart of the Connecticut River Delta. A lot to talk about today, and I have it in list form right in front of me. A lot to do today. So what's going on? We got a poll question, and I'm going to start that poll right now. Poll question of the week. Our scale is boring. It's a fair question. It's a fair question. Our scale is boring. Well. Remember, I cannot see how you vote. So the question is, will you be honest? Okay, our scale is boring. Options include, yes, if I'm being honest. Or I can stand them for a little while. How about for a little bit? They limit the number of characters I could use. And I love scales so much. Okay, there we go. All right, Poopa John is in the chat. Barry James, Charlie, hey you guys, thank you for sticking with me. We're back. Who knows what our little technical glitch was a minute ago? It's over now. So our poll question is up and running. Our scale is boring. Remember, I do not know how you personally are voting. I only know what the numbers tell me. Hey, Bruce, and Byron from Sydney, Australia. Welcome, you guys. So before I was so rudely interrupted by the internet connection, I was saying that we've got a great show for you tonight. So much to talk about. Poll question. That's up and running. I got my own dumb question for you. Who's teaching guitar to these movie stars who are portraying guitar players? I want to share some info with you about this. It's making me crazy. We're going to talk about Johnny Marr, guitarist, most famous, I believe, for playing with the Smiths. What happened to his guitars? That's what he wants to know. There's a little issue with UPS and Johnny Marr's guitars. We're going to talk about that today. A new Bob Dylan book you might get a kick out of. Good news, it's a cool book. Bad news, it's sold out. Oh, I can't wait to show it to you, though. I'll tell you all about it. The weekly teaching feature, WTF. We're going to get into that in just about 1 minute. So stick around for the weekly teaching feature, also known as WTF. It's something that I've been doing with my students this week, and I can't wait to do it with you because, hey, you are my students this week. A few names to throw your way. People you may not have heard of, but you will be more aware of them after today's show. Anybody seen the new Spinal Tap movie? Want to talk about that? Some guitar teacher words of wisdom. I try to throw some encouragement your way. So I got some of that to send you. A student quote of the week, should I sell out? And of course, our feature called a virtual play along. We're going to do that at about the 1 hour mark, give or take. And who's in town? Some very cool performers are coming through my neck of the woods, so they're probably going to come through your neck of the woods. All right. So who else is in the chat? Lee, hello. Rock Lobster, hello. Randy, thank you, folks, for being here. While I tune up, I suggest you grab a guitar pick. We're going to get right into one of our weekly teaching features of the week. It's a picking exercise. You need a pick. Do not do this with your bare fingers. You want to do this with a pick. I'm going to put it up on the screen. What you see on the screen before long will be available to members of my website. So don't feel the need to rush and copy down what you see on the screen, because you can just go to my website and get it. You can become a member for $10 a month, $9.95, and you get access to tons and tons of stuff. Okay, you ready? Let's do this. Enough chit chat. Let's do this. Our first educational moment of the night. I need that, and I need that, and I need this. Okay, if your screen goes black for a minute, don't worry about a thing. Never worry. There we go. There's a picking etude that I believe we looked at last week. Very cool exercise, but it wasn't bluesy and it was in a major key. So we got 2 new ones that I did for you. I didn't get them out of some other book. I did these for you. First one's bluesy. I'm calling that picking Etude number 3. And on the next page, in a little while, a little later in the show, we'll do number 4, which is in a minor key. So now I'm going to make this bigger for a moment, because if I do my job right, well, that's big, right? If I do my job right, you'll understand how to play the first line. And if you understand how to play the first line, you're golden. Okay, your pick is going to be going down, up, down, up, down, up, down, with no exceptions, alternate picking with no exceptions. Your fretting hand is going to zip around. Let's get this left hand in the shot here. Okay, I'm going to stop talking. Here's how the first line sounds in slow motion. A little bit faster, first line. Let's aim the mic right over here. Okay. Sound familiar? Nice bluesy walking bass line. The bass line is all downstrokes. Open 6th string, 4 on the 6th string with your ring finger, and so on. Those are all going to be downstrokes. In between every downstroke, an upstroke on your skinny little thin E string. So what's going on here? You're essentially playing notes from an E7 chord, or notes that reflect an E7 chord. And that's why the open E string, sounds so good. So this is challenging your picking hand to skip strings, to jump all over the place. Is it hard? Nah. Where should your eyes be? At first, your eyes have to be on the screen or on the paper, right? Until you get it memorized. Even when the day comes and you have the exercise memorized, where should your eyes be? On whichever hand needs your eyes the most. You might say, both my hands need my attention. Yeah, you got to pick one. At the moment, I'm keeping my eyes on my left hand. And here's why. Ultimately, this is a picking challenge, right? It's a picking etude. So my challenge to you is to play this accurately without looking at your picking hand. Okay, so where else are you going to look? You're going to look either at the screen or at the paper if you printed this out, or at your left hand. But that's the ultimate challenge. Okay, you good with line 1 right there? I'm going to scroll a little bit. There's line 2. Line 2 is now at the top of the page. Okay, what's up with line 2? So similar, except the bass notes have shifted. Now you're playing notes that reflect an A7 chord. You're not playing an A7 chord, but you are reflecting an A7 chord by playing those individual bass notes, okay? The skinny E string continues to be our source of droning with upstrokes. Why does that work? Because E is one of the notes of an A7 chord, so it's harmonious with all those notes. Okay, so questions, comments, you guys get this idea? Down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. Winston from Wales is in the chat. Hey, Winston, thanks for being here. Okay, now this sounds pretty good, even at, I'm going back to line 1 for a second, even at kind of a medium, slow tempo like that, as long as you get a nice bounce going. Of course, you want to go as fast as possible, I know. Okay, so line, I'm calling it line 3, the one that begins, I'm going to scroll up a little bit, the one at the top of the page now. Okay, this reflects not the E7 chord, not the A7, but the 3rd chord in this bluesy family, B7, okay? Now, middle finger, please, with your fretting hand, please fret that number 2 on the A string. Please fret it with your middle finger. Why? Because it sets you up for success, okay? By the way, the droning note, the upstrokes are going to be on the 2nd skinny string, also known as the Bueller Bueller. Second string is known as the B string. B as in Bueller, right? We want to reflect a B7 chord. So why not take advantage of that open B string, the second string? Okay, so this line here that starts with the second fret, fifth string, this might be a little more challenging than the other ones, but nah, not for you. Middle finger on that 2. Not surprisingly, index finger on the 1, the first fret on the D string. Ring finger or pinky. I see. I wrote ring finger on the tab there up above. I might actually change that to pinky. Yeah, that should say pinky. I highly recommend doing the pinky on that fourth string. I'm going to change that before I post that to my website. Okay, you recognize that same boogie woogie kind of bass line? Right? We're just taking that bass line and getting the B string inserted in there. Okay, your reward for all the hard work you've been doing. We've come to the turnaround section, the turnaround of this blues exercise. Okay, I'm looking at the last line, the final line. That's the note E. That's to signify we've made it back to our home base. We're in the key of E. This song happens to be the key of E. By the way, how do I know that? Or how would I expect anyone to know that? Those 4 sharp signs at the beginning of every line. See that? At the beginning of every line, 4 hashtags, 4 sharp signs. That's your notification that you're in the key of E. Okay, so the last line, there's the note E, second fret on the 4th string. And now we have a cool little turnaround. Now this can get kind of atonal for a minute. Ring finger, 4th fret on the G string. I'm going to strum all 3 treble strings 2 times. Middle finger, 3rd string, 3rd fret. Now that sounds raw. Ooh, but in the context, it does sound great. Okay, so what I just played there was the turnaround beginning with my ring finger, 4th fret of the 3rd string, middle finger, 3rd fret on the 3rd string, index finger, 2nd fret on the 3rd string, index finger just gliding lightly backwards to the 1st fret of the 3rd string for 1 strum. And then a quick hop over to the A string. And you could end right there, but that's an unresolved kind of sound. Really, you should go back to the top of the page and start the whole thing over again. Okay, so personally, I like putting something in at the end that's not just a duplication of something that we did earlier, right? And because the whole point of this picking exercise is to be bluesy. I'm gonna zoom out now. There we go. Since the whole point is to be bluesy, you got to have a turnaround, right? You just got to. There we go. Okay, questions, comments? How you guys feeling about that? The only thing I would change would be, like I said, on the line 3, please play the 4th fret on the 4th string with your pinky. And that note comes up again later in line 3. All right, so enjoy this. We're going to do number 4 a little later in the show. Down, up, down, up. Remember, the number 1 goal is to improve your accuracy and your confidence with your picking hand. You should make a bunch of mistakes, right? That's just, you should go slowly and just accept the fact that you're going to make a bunch of mistakes. Some of you might push yourselves to memorize this, and that's great. And then you can look at your whatever hand you want to. But if you play with your eyes on the screen or on the paper and you don't look at your hands, you get a gold star. You get the same gold star either way. You get the gold star if you memorize it and you don't look at your hands. No, you memorize it and you do look at your hands, and you get the same gold star if you don't memorize it and you play without looking at your hands, right? Same gold star either way. But I'll say it one last time. The goal is to improve your confidence and skills with your picking hand. Not that the left hand is easy. It's just that that's, Jazz says, I like that it's movable up and down the fretboard. Well, I mean, it relies on open strings. Randy says that's hard. Yeah, it relies on open strings. So I would say this is an example of something you can't move up and down the fretboard unless you put a capo on, which actually would be kind of cool too, to put a capo on, if only to keep your ear, tuned in to what's going on and not get, what's the word I'm looking for? Not sort of go in this zone where you can start to zone out a little bit. That we all can do that. You play something for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and you just can zone out a little bit. And sometimes putting a capo on can wake you up a little bit. Okay, the page you are looking at on the screen is going to be available on my website, and so will the next one. I'm going to stop sharing now. The next picking Etude, like I said, is going to be in a minor key. Why is that significant? Because, like I said, the first ones we did, which I think was last week, came from a cool Mel Bay instructional book, but they were in major keys. Nothing wrong with that. But, all right, there we go. Let's check in with our poll question real quick. The poll question, are scales boring? Answers include, yeah, if I'm being honest, they're boring. Number 2, I can stand them for a little bit. And number 3, I love scales so much. So please do vote in the poll. And remember, I don't know who votes how. I'm just curious. Okay, let's get right into it. Can anybody teach the guitar? Sure, anybody can teach the guitar. When a movie star needs to learn how to play the guitar for a movie, then the stakes, you could say the stakes are raised a little bit higher, right? Okay, so what do I want to do here? I want to pull this up and pull this up. So I have a link to share with you, and I'm going to put it up on the screen. The link I'm sharing with you comes from Guitar World and guitarworld.com. Okay, here we go. And it references, okay, open link, there we go. It references the soon-to-be released movie regarding Bruce Springsteen's Nebraska album and that part of his career. Jeremy Allen White tasked with portraying Bruce Springsteen. Okay, so if you want to teach a movie star to play the guitar, you think you'd hire a guitar teacher, right? You wouldn't hire an astronaut. You wouldn't hire a plumber, right? You'd hire a guitar teacher. No, nobody hires guitar teachers. This appears to be a recurring theme, although I'm going to talk about an exception in a little bit. So I am sharing the screen, and if you can't see it now, you'll see it in a moment. I'm sharing a screen, and it's from guitarworld.com, and it's talking about a gentleman who I'm sure is a fine musician named J.D. Simo, or Simo, S-I-M-O. And he was he got the gig. He got the gig to teach Jeremy Allen White how to play guitar, so Jeremy Allen White could be Bruce Springsteen in the Bruce Springsteen movie. Everybody see the screen. I know sometimes when I share a website, it takes a little bit longer to load on the page. But even if you can't see, even if it hasn't loaded on your screen yet, don't worry. I'm going to tell you what it says. Okay, so J.D. Simo. He says, working on the Springsteen movie, they asked me if I would teach Jeremy Allen White to play guitar. My honest thing was, I have no idea. Well, why wouldn't he know? Because he's not a guitar teacher. So I'm just reading from the article right now. To get ready for the role, White worked with session guru, that means recording session guru, J.D. Simo. J.D. Simo has worked with Jack White, Tommy Emmanuel, Joe Bonamassa, Samantha Fish. He worked on the Elvis movie, the Baz Luhrmann's Elvis movie. He got the gig to teach Jeremy Allen White how to play the guitar. Well, so why are we even talking about this? Well, he says, once in a blue moon, someone would ask me to give them a private lesson. Once in a blue moon, I'd be like, you know what? Okay, sure, because it made sense. I was available. Man. So when they asked him, he said, when they asked him to teach Jeremy Allen White how to play, he says, I think I can. Yeah, but I mean, I'll do my best. I really had to step back because I understood the pressure of wanting to set him up to win. Once he accepted the job, took on the mammoth task, it just became evident. This is quote, quote, quote. It just became evident very quickly there's no fast way. I think it was the first week of us working together or something where I was like, dude, I want to be honest with you and say that it's all on you and how many hours you're going to put into it. Okay, so what is my deal? I'll tell you what my deal is. First of all, every student is equally important, right? Ideally, we all feel that us teachers should feel the equal amount of pressure for every student, but I get it. There's a big budget, there's a deadline, and you got the gig. But why not hire someone who teaches guitar 6 days a week for 30 years? Am I jealous? A little bit. Man, I want to get flown out to Hollywood and teach some dude how to play the guitar. I don't know. Now, I don't have time for doing that. And they'd have to pay me for all the income I was losing because I make money teaching guitar, right? Plus, it'd be a little bit rude for me to bail out on all my students. And I don't know, maybe it's Zoom lessons. Maybe he taught them how to play using Zoom, using Skype, using FaceTime. I don't know, man. I don't know. By the way, the link that you're looking at on the screen, the website that you're looking at on the screen, I will share that link so you'll be able to access it quickly after our live stream. So I have no doubt that the guy they hired is a terrific guitar player. I'm sure he is. But teaching is just a different skill, man. It's a different skill. So I'm having a breakdown over this because, to my knowledge, it was the same thing teaching Timothée Chalamet how to play for the Bob Dylan movie last winter. Same deal. They hired a guy who's not a guitar teacher, So I'm sure they were looking for someone who checked a few boxes. They were great guitar players. They were available, willing to do it. They were almost certainly, sober, on time, all the things you want for an employee, right? Check, check, check. I'm sure the filmmaker was like, that guy checks a lot of boxes, except he's not a guitar teacher. All right. You get where I'm coming from, right? Now, a minute ago, I'm going to stop sharing this. A moment ago, I mentioned an exception. All right. Who remembers Crossroads? Crossroads, way back in the day, it's my understanding that Arlen Roth, a dude who is a great guitar player, but has written instructional books, knows a little bit about teaching guitar. Arlen Roth got the task. He got the gig teaching Ralph Macchio how to play guitar for the movie called Crossroads, right? So, all right, now that makes sense. Arlen Roth wrote the first guitar book I ever got, complete acoustic guitar, the one with the red cover and his picture on the front. And Arlen Roth wrote Masters of the Telecaster. Okay, well, someone who can process what he knows how to do and put it down in book form, all right, that, and almost certainly Arlen Roth has done his share of teaching, I'm guessing, that's, to me, that's like a no-brainer. That's who you hire to teach a rock star, movie star, how to play the guitar. All right. Thanks for letting me get that out of my system. When Hollywood calls me to help somebody play the guitar, you'll be the first to know. But apparently that's not how it works. Oh, well. All right. I like teaching you guys, and my crop of in-person and online students, I'm okay. Pooba John has a question. Hey, Pooba John. Remember, if you have a question, put it in the chat with a bunch of question marks in advance, so I know your question is aimed at me. Poopa John says, does using a capo change the key of the song? Exactly. That's why we use capos. You got it. It changes the sound without having to relearn the song, right? The only problem with, one of the problems with capos is if you're playing a song that covers quite a bit of the neck, you could potentially put a capo on high enough that now you're either running out of frets or running out of accessibility of frets. And that can, that can cause problems. Another problem with capos is you should be prepared to give your guitar a little bit of retuning once you put a capo on. It's definitely a likelihood that your guitar will be a tiny bit out of tune when you put a capo on. And especially if you're recording yourself, or if you're just, if you got a great ear, yeah, you want to just double check the tuning after you put a capo on. A big reason to own a capo is some of your favorite songs were recorded with a capo on. And if you want to sound like the Eagles on Hotel California, George Harrison on Here Comes the Sun, Paul Simon on Scarborough Fair, lots and lots of songs, Muddy Waters, Albert Collins, lots and lots of people relied heavily on a capo. Barry James is Barry, you're referring to Paul Simon using a capo, you got it. Scarborough Fair has a capo way up at the 7th fret, I think. So yeah, it's a beautiful thing. So you want to get a decent capo. If you don't have one already, you plan on spending $20. Use the Sweetwater affiliate link in the description of this video, and a tiny bit of your purchase will come back to support this live stream. By the way, those of you who have been using the Sweetwater affiliate link of mine, thank you. I got a little bit of money in the mail recently from Sweetwater, and it definitely helps keep me in printer paper and Sharpies, printer ink. Let's see, the most recent payment from Sweetwater was enough to pay for 1 cartridge of printer ink. So depending how you look at it, it's either a lot of money or not. But I appreciate it because I use a lot of printer ink. So thank you, everybody. Oh, Barry, you're making a good point. Barry used a capo to keep the open chord sound. That's right. There's nothing like open strings. So even with a capo on, essentially there's strings that are ringing as open strings, constantly, right? The ones you're not fretting. Someone recently mentioned that so many blues riffs rely on open strings that using a capo is mandatory for lots and lots of classic blues playing, because you can't make up for it with your fingers. The exact pull-offs and hammer-ons and the exact harmonies and things are done with open strings, and you just can't do it without a capo, not in a way that sounds true to how the song was recorded. And that sounds about right to me too. Okay, I got a dumb question. Let's bang out some of the things on the agenda here. I got a dumb question of the week. I ask it so you don't have to. My wife is likely to point out that I ask more than one dumb question a week, but this is my dumb question for this live stream. If you knew the names of all the notes up and down the neck, would you be better at the guitar? A dumb question. Of course you'd be better, because you'd know every C sharp and B flat and F, and you'd be better at the guitar, right? It's a dumb question, because you wouldn't. Would it make bar chords easier? Would it make the F chord easier? Would you be able to stretch up further to get those Chuck Berry kind of things? It wouldn't make the guitar physically easier to play, right? Except in the sense that you'd be able to get to a certain note more confidently, because if you know the name of the note you're trying to get to, then you just know, oh, there's that note. But what if you're using tab anyways, and all you know is you're going up to the 8th fret? Well, then knowing the name of the note at the 8th fret wouldn't directly help you. All right, so wait a minute. Now, am I saying that you shouldn't learn the names of the notes? I'm just saying it's a dumb question. What was it again? The dumb question of the week. If you knew the names of every note up and down the neck, all 6 strings, 21 frets, 22 frets, some of you have a 24 fret guitar, would it make you a better guitar player? Sort of, in some ways. Here's when it would help. If you knew a bunch of music theory, that then knowing the names and notes would help quite a bit. Like if you knew, like during that while the band is on an A major chord, but you want to throw in a flat third, the flatted third degree of an A major scale. Where are we here? Well, then you'd know that the flatted third degree of an A scale is the C natural note, and your eyes would gravitate potentially to that C third string fifth fret. So, if you already had a decent, level of music theory, then knowing the names of the notes up and down, that would help. If you had a very specific, sequence of notes and or chords in mind, yeah, sure. It's a good challenge just to challenge yourself to understand music well enough that if you can find E, the very next fret up the neck is F and so on. It's a dumb question. So is it a good thing to know? Yes. Does it directly make you a better guitar player? Not in a physical sense. I guess you could say it makes you a better musician, right? Physically, the verdict is out, Having said that, of course, learn your neck up and down. Why not? Okay, check. Let's talk about Johnny Marr, man. Poor guy. Johnny Marr was on tour. He was he was ready to have some fun. So what went wrong? I thought you'd never ask. Okay, here comes on the screen Johnny Marr and a little issue he's having with UPS. You know where this is heading, right? Oh my God, this poor guy. My heart goes out to him. Ooh, here's what I want. I want this right here. Nope. Can I just click on that? I can click on that. Again, I'm going to share this website, and it's my understanding that when I share a website, sometimes it takes a hot minute for it to load for you guys. That's okay. Hang in there. Dear UPS, where are my guitars? They disappeared a week ago. Again, I'm sharing something from Guitar World, guitarworld.com. And the sub headline is "The Smiths legend has been pleading for the return of his lost gear." But UPS has told him that his guitars have been lost. Do guitars just disappear? I don't know. Johnny Marr has taken to X, formerly known as Instagram, to air that his guitars have gone missing, alleging UPS has misplaced or even lost a fair few of his touring instruments. Dear UPS, where are my guitars? They disappeared a week ago. I'm hearing from you now that they have been lost. Explain. Oh, man. And he tags Fender guitars and Gibson guitars in the mix. He's trying to get their support, I imagine. So UPS, you can't make this up. Apparently UPS said to him, well, what do your guitars look like? And Johnny Marr says, they look exactly like the ones you put in one of your delivery vans days ago, remember? So could this happen to anybody? Yep. Oh, man. I'm reading again from the guitarworld.com article. It says, while UPS is reportedly investigating the matter, as of the time of writing, Marr hasn't issued an update on his missing gear. Ouch. Anybody ever suffer through something like this? I have not exactly like this, but ouch, man. Ouch. So what do you do? What do you do? If it could happen to him, it could happen to anybody. I will share the link to this Guitar World story in the description of this live stream. Holy moly. I don't know, man. Now, I'm the suspicious type. Someone at UPS stole his guitars, allegedly. Someone at UPS stole his alleged guitars. Allegedly, do I know that? No, but that's exactly where my imagination goes. It was a bunch of sweet guitars and a bunch of boxes, and I imagine, yeah. And so it's very easy to imagine that that UPS, someone wasn't minding the store. I don't know. What do I know? That's a lot of guitars to go missing. And, even if they were insured, ouch, ouch, Just ouch. Oh, well, then again, it happens to lots of people. Missing guitars, broken guitars. It's just a really high profile person. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing that. Booba John says you pay UPS extra money for certified delivery. Yeah, yeah, I'm sure there's all sorts of things you can do until they just report the guitars are lost. I love that though. Well, what do the guitars look like? I mean, I'm taking Johnny Marr's word for it that they asked him that, but that's uh, another question from Wingo. Wingo says, "Can you tell by sound alone if someone's using a capo?" Yeah, I can take a pretty good guess, and I'll tell you why I feel comfortable making educated guesses. Not all the time. I'm sure there's times when I could not tell that someone's doing a capo. When I hear a familiar riff, and I'm going to base this riff on a D major chord, D as in Delta, as in the Connecticut River Delta. That's kind of the Feel a Whole Lot Better riff from the Byrds. Okay. A classic D major chord riff, right? Some combination of D with an open E string and also an E string fretted at the 3rd fret with your pinky finger. Okay, classic riff, verging on being a cliche. So it's extremely likely that you have heard someone do that riff with a capo on. And so long story short, there's only one easy way to get that sound, and it's to grab a D major chord and to do what I just described, getting those nice melodic sounds on this skinny first E string. So when I hear that riff, but it sounds kind of high up the neck, I'll bet you $1 that the person's doing with a capo. Just, it makes so much sense, So when I hear one of those cliche riffs, for lack of a better term, but it sounds extra high, yeah, then I think, oh, they've got a capo on. If I just hear someone rocking out up and down the neck of the guitar, then I don't know. But if everything, especially rhythm guitar, let's be very specific, strumming, finger picking, rhythm guitar, if the entire rhythm guitar part sounds high, sounds like it's up the neck, yeah, then I tend to guess that it's being done with a capo. Lead guitar, just some great lead guitar player playing low notes and medium notes and high notes up and down the neck. Well, when you hear a huge range, low to high, then it's easy to imagine they aren't using a capo. And typically lead guitar parts soloing all up and down the neck, there's typically not a capo involved. Rhythm guitar, there's lots of reasons a rhythm guitar player, a songwriter would put a capo on. Number one, to make it sound different than the last song you wrote. Number two, maybe you wrote the song, on a quiet, Monday night, but when you go to record it on Saturday, you realize, hey, wait a minute, it's kind of low energy down the neck. I'm not going to relearn and rearrange the whole tune. I'm just going to slap a capo on. And now that I'm in the recording studio, I got a little more energy. I want to sing it more powerfully. I'm going to just capo up the song that I wrote. Booba John says, capo and bar chords, the same thing. In effect, yeah, you could say that. Well, they have one very specific thing in common, and that is a clamp across all 6 strings. So they both do the same thing with some huge differences. Once the capo's down, that's where the capo is going to stay until the song's over, typically, right? Whereas the bar, by definition, the bar moves all over the place. But Booba John, you're correct. In effect, they do the same thing. They chop off the guitar. They make the vibrations stop. The vibrations that run from the bridge of the guitar down the neck, they stop wherever you tell them to stop. And if you let go of the guitar, they stop where the nut tells them to stop, right? So a capo and bar chords have the same effect. The capo is more permanent, right? And the bar chords can move all over the place. But I'll say it one more time. Songs that are recorded with a capo, I don't recommend trying to play the song with a bar, like say with your index finger barring across the song, and seeing if you can do it without a capo is number one, why? And number two, just recipe for frustration and disaster, Okay. Check, check, check. Hey, boom, boom, boom. How about anybody seen the new Spinal Tap movie? It came out, but it's not. Last I checked, it's not out in my neighborhood. I'm dying to see it. Anybody seen it? I'm looking for a review. I'm going to see it no matter what. But let us know if you've seen the new Spinal Tap movie that just came out, and let us know how you liked it. Couple of words of wisdom. Also part of the weekly teaching feature segment of our show called WTF, Weekly Teaching Feature. These are things that came up recently with students. There's what you play, what you know how to play, what you're capable of playing, and there's what you remember, meaning what you've memorized. Physical skills, musical skills, and your memory are two very different things. So for about 1 minute, I'm going to talk about the extreme frustration I observe sometimes with students who are very disappointed in themselves, say they go to play for their teacher, and their memory might fail a little bit. And they maybe play half a tune, half a riff, something, and then they have a brain freeze, and oh man, they all of a sudden they're, wow, they did it better at home. They can't believe that their memory failed. So because that is often an extremely frustrating moment in a lesson, I've learned to talk people off the ledge and say, look, doesn't mean you don't know how to play the guitar. Doesn't mean you didn't practice this a ton and sound pretty good at it at home. Maybe you even played it perfectly at home. Don't beat yourself up if your memory has a momentary lapse, right? If you have that brain freeze, that's okay. At least in terms of you and your guitar teacher hanging out, right? That's okay. That doesn't mean you don't know how to play it, right? So final word, keep those two things separate, especially if you're the type who's going to beat yourself up. Under pressure, yes, it's possible that you will not have a song as memorized as you think you do. That's okay. That's okay. Take pride in the fact that you can play stuff and that maybe you need a glimpse at the paper and then you can go back to playing it again. Yes, I wish for you and for everybody the ability to play through an entire thing by heart. Excellent. Fantastic. I hope you get there. I'm sure you will. In the meantime, go easy on yourself, man. Just remember those are two very different skills, your musicality and your memory, okay? Two very different skills. Go easy on yourself. Here's a cute little phrase. Chords that go together, flow together. Mostly, not 100% of the time. Here's why it came up. Oh, this also gets into the student quote of the week. C to A minor. For me, that was such a big moment in my life as a 16-year-old when I realized C and A minor have two of the three same fingers in the same spot. Chords that go together, flow together. They sound good. It's an easy chord change. How about E minor and A major? Oh, they go together, right? They go together, they flow together. That happens a lot. How about G to E minor? G to E minor, right? Now, despite the fact that that's a cute saying, chords that go together, flow together, it's not always true. And that gets to the student quote of the week. I was working with a student and we were changing from E major to B minor. Oh, was it for Wicked Game? Remember we did Wicked Game a few weeks ago? And the student quote of the week, my student said, yeah, you got to do a full reset. E major to B minor, it's a full reset. They sound good together. They go together. They don't flow together. Not without a ton of practice, right? There's no cute way to get from E major to B minor. So are there exceptions to my little saying? Of course. Yep, you got to do a full reset. So I liked how we use that term. Sometimes it's not a full reset, right? At least you can convince yourself it's no big deal. E minor to A major, just no big deal, right? They flow together, they go together. But yeah, So you guys might remember I've been using the word inconvenient. B minor just so inconvenient, you know. But that's life. Okay, there you go. A couple little cute little things. I'm looking to see what you guys are saying in the chat. Randy says, Spinal Tap 2 is awesome. I laughed all the way through. There you go. Excellent, excellent. Very cool. It's, you know what? I think it's time for our play along song of the week. Let's just do it. Why is this song? Why did I choose this song to be the play along song of the week? I will tell you. One of the songwriters just passed away. Yeah, and it's a great song, and I can't believe we haven't done this song previously. In fact, I'm going to check just to make sure we haven't done this song. Bear with me. I'm looking at one more. I'm checking the master list. There we go. Master list. Now would be a bad time to realize that we had done the song. Nope, but we have not. Okay. Here we go. I need this, and I need this, and I need this. S. Okay, come on. There we go. All right, make this a little bit smaller. Our play along song of the week. Boom, boom. The song that will get me demonetized right about now. I'm Not Your Stepping Stone by the Monkees. Written actually by a pair of songwriters. And I will share the Wikipedia link to, to give you guys some details about, okay, there we go, about Bob Hart. And there we go. Bobby Hart was not born Bobby Hart. He was born Harshman was his original last name. I'm going to share the Wikipedia link. There's a lot going on here with I'm Not Your Stepping Stone by the Monkees. Just to prep you, we got E, G, A, C, E to G to A to C. This song is under 3 minutes. I'm determined to make our preparation leading up to our performance less than half an hour. I'm going to keep this short because look, E, G, A, C, E to G to A to C, E to G to A to C. I'm even rushing a little bit. It's not even quite that fast. Okay, some tips. When you go from E major to G major, keep your middle finger, your second finger, right where it is, 5th string, 2nd fret. I know I'm a little thumbnail on the corner of your screen, but there's your E major, 2 strums, and my middle finger is going to stay there. And I'm going to play G major with my middle ring and pinky, also known as Jonathan's G, for 2 strums, A to C. Now, right there, that's the heart of the song. If nothing else, just play E twice, G twice, A twice, C twice, and there you go. Okay, that is not only the intro, it's also the chorus of the song, it's the verse of the song, it is the song. Now, I'm going to skip over here to the other things you need to know. Okay, we're looking at page 2. Here's page 2 right there. There are 2 little interludes, and I'm going to blow this up. Get ready. I'm going to make this big. Interlude number 1. I'm going to play it slowly and then play it more quickly. This stuff about the interlude is for those of you who, instead of simply playing it in the backyard, you want to play along with the actual recording. Okay, interlude number 1 is just essentially, it's a cool little power chord / bass note thing. It happens twice in the tune. Essentially, it's an E power chord. I got my index finger, 5th string, 2nd fret. I'm going to add my middle finger, 6th string, 3rd fret for 1 strum. Essentially, it's 2 of the 3 notes of two of the notes of a G major chord. Hopping over to an A power chord. I got my index on the 4th string, 2nd fret. Back to the 6th string, 3rd fret. That whole thing repeats. You only do it 2 times and you move on to the next part of the tune. But the interlude number 1 itself happens later in the tune as well. Okay, what you're looking at, by the way, on the screen, this PDF will be available shortly after tonight's live stream on my website, song-bike.com. Okay, interlude number 1. So far you've got 2 things. Just the basic chord strumming, E twice, G twice, A twice, C twice. You've got interlude number 1. Section of the tune I'm calling the double time section. I'm going to show you how to cheat. What's written there is E, 2 strums. You guys know what I'm looking at, right? That double time section. We got the E and that little like slash mark with a stem coming down. That's a typical way to indicate another strum on the same chord you just strummed. Instead of writing the whole stack of numbers, they just put a little kind of slash mark note. So you got E twice, and then G, A, G, E, G, A, G, stepping stone. Not your stepping stone. This is that boom, chip, almost like a gospel kind of rave up section of the tune. Okay, now what's the cheat? Instead of doing an actual fingered G chord, I'm just doing the open 2nd, 3rd, and 4th strings, which are inherently part of the G chord. And then you could grab an A with 3 separate fingers, or you could just grab a rock and roll A with 1 finger and keep your pick focused on the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th strings. I just did G, G, A, G. Ooh, so I'd recommend after those 2 E strums, those 3 open strings for the G, a 1 finger A, but how about use your middle finger? Back to the 3 open strings. E twice, G, A, G. Now, I know you guys can't see my fingers super well, but that's what I'm trying to describe it. It's not cheating, because you're giving the world the 3 notes that make up a G major chord. You're giving them the open B string, the open G string, and the open D string. And same thing when you grab with whatever finger you use for that rock and roll A, you're still giving the world the 3 things you have to give them when they want an A chord. Not your stepping stone. Easy peasy. Okay, and that brings us to the only other new thing, the only thing we haven't talked about yet, interlude number 2. Now, this is actually kind of like a little keyboard. Sounds like an electric piano kind of riff, whatever they had handy. Well, I think it's like a Farfisa organ. By the way, I believe, yeah, Bobby Hart, who wrote the tune or who co-wrote it with Tommy Boyce, he's credited on Wikipedia as playing a Vox Continental organ on this tune. So I think what you're hearing is like a little organ thing, and what you're seeing on the screen in front of you is how essentially you could mimic it on the guitar. Okay, it happens twice. So let's leave it at that without trying to come up with a fancy guitar thing in there. It's just a cool little interlude that happens twice. And just like interlude number 1 comes up later in the song, so does interlude number 2. Okay, so the overall tune is done. I mean, that's it. I'm going to scroll a little bit. There we go. We're going to start playing it before you know it. So the good news is this is an easy tune. The bad news is I don't have a way to get all this on the screen at the moment. Just know that where the PDF that you're looking at is available on my website, or will be available soon on my website. So you can just go there and print it all out. And that's everything you need with repeat signs and codas and all that kind of stuff. So in a nutshell, you got the E to G to A to C. You got that part. You got interlude number 1, which you're seeing on your screen right now. Dum 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 dum. You got the double time section, and you got interlude number 2, which is a very cool part of the song. There it is right there. It's a very cool part of the song, but it's not the most memorable thing for the guitar player. Of all the entire arrangement, it's maybe the least important thing. Okay, so how are we going to play this, you and me? Let's see here. What we're going to do is we're going to scroll this up like that. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to skip over page 1 altogether. Well, I'm only going to present page 2 right here, and I'm going to shrink it down a little bit because page 2, I know it's small now, page 2 actually has every musical skill you need for the song, you know? It's going to, because page 1 is nothing but E to G to A to C. So let's just look at page 2. And page 3 is just more the same. And the outro is just that double time thing that repeats and fades. So if we just look at page 2, I think you guys are going to do great. All right, let's get this back. All right, so we're going to start in a minute. Questions, comments, thoughts? Anybody? Bueller? For some of you, this is going to be easy. For some of you, this has a few quirks that you might feel weird about. All of you may be slightly challenged knowing where to go and where to jump around. I get that. We're going to play the song a little bit slower than the original, and I'll try to make it obvious when to go where. I haven't played this song for a long time, but today's the day. I'm going to wet my whistle. Hang in there. Looks like coffee. It's actually, guess what? Apple cider in a coffee cup. Whatever happens, happens. There's a rule to live by. All right, you guys. Let's start on the E, G, A, C intro, and I'll see you on the other side. A 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm not your stepping stone. I'm not your stepping stone. You're trying to make your mark in society. You're using all the tricks that you used on me. I'm reading all them high fashion magazines. The clothes you're wearing, girl, are causing public scenes. You say, I'm not your stepping stone. I'm not your stepping stone. Not your stepping stone. Not your stepping stone. I'm not your stepping stone. I'm not your stepping stone. When I first met you, girl, you didn't have no shoes. But now you're walking around like your front page news. You've been awful careful about the friends you choose. You won't find my name in your book of who's. I'm not your stepping stone. I'm not your stepping stone. Not your stepping stone. I'm not your stepping stone. Not your stepping stone. We never did a fade out ending, I don't think, in this live stream. There's a fade out ending, since that's what happens in the song. All right. Questions, comments, how you guys do? Hey, Barry, thank you for your super chat. I really appreciate that. Thank you. Garage rock, man. What a great example of a garage kind of tune. But some great lyrics, man. The clothes you're wearing, girl, are causing public scenes. Woo. There's a lot going on in this song, man. There's some anger, I think, behind this lyric, you know, using all the tricks that you used on me. 1966. Huh. It's a little uncomfortable. Anyways, so please do take a moment. You know what? Now that we've played the tune, tell you what, how about if I stop sharing this and just for the fun of it, you guys know, Wikipedia, you got to take everything in Wikipedia with a grain of salt, but take a look at the Wikipedia page about I'm Not Your Stepping Stone. Written by Tommy Boyce, Bobby Hart. The Monkees were not the first people to record it. I personally did not know that Paul Revere and the Raiders recorded it. I would like to hear their version. I never heard it. This was a B-side of a Monkees single. Guess what the A-side is? Also written by the same guys. Good old Last Train to Clarksville. I mean, hopefully these guys made some serious money, because if you wrote Last Train to Clarksville and Stepping Stone, that's pretty cool. We're talking about the two songwriters named Tommy Boyce and Bobby Hart. What else? Talking about different edits here. Covered by many artists. Okay, you guys seeing this? The Sex Pistols have done a version of it. Okay. Now, if I zip over here, I'm going to click on a link. Okay, don't go anywhere. There we go. I'm changing to the Wikipedia page about Tommy Boyce and Bobby Hart, who was born Robert Harshman. And again, the reason why we are doing this song today is Bobby Hart, the co-writer, just passed away on September 10th. So this Wikipedia page talks about his life, his career, his involvement with the Monkees. Actually, I don't know for sure that Last Train to Clarksville was the A-side, but they did write that tune. Okay, so these are links that I will share. And now you know what I know about Stepping Stone. What a great song. Or parenthetically, I'm not your stepping stone. Stepping with an apostrophe. None of this G and ing stuff. I'm not your stepping stone. And I appreciate that they didn't call it Stepping Stone, I'm not your, Randy and Chaz, thank you for your super chats right there. And I'll say it one more time, hopefully, only one more time. The PDF for Stepping Stone will soon be available on my website. And then you can print it out and you can see the order of everything and when to do what. But now you know how easy it is, and you are equipped to play along with the original song. And yeah, fun, right? Okay. I'm here for your questions. I got stuff to talk about in between your questions, but don't be shy. Other things to talk about. Someone came to my attention, and I think she's terrific. Young songwriter named Samantha Crain, Crain. Crain, Samantha, common spelling, Crain, and has a new album out called Gumshoe, like the old-fashioned word for a detective, a gumshoe. And I try to have an open mind, but I kind of think I've heard it all before, right? We all think, I've kind of heard it all before. But I really think she's pretty cool. And I thought, ooh, you know what? I could listen to her some more. And I thought, well, if I like it, and I think she's kind of special, I think you guys might like Samantha Crain as well, Crain. So I'm going to put a link to a story about her in the description of this live stream. I wanted to make sure I gave her a shout out before we got too deep into the show. There's a segment I call Should I Sell Out? And last I checked, I only got one offer to sell to you guys. And it was it was a repeat of one from a previous guy. This company, they're doubling down. They really, really, really want me to sell to you a cordless rotary tool. Still not taking them up in their offer, but a very, very short segment this week. Should I sell out? That's the only one. Who's in town? A segment I like to call Who's in Town. Got some good stuff. Ooh, 4 talented people and groups are coming through my town, my area. If they're coming through my town this week, they may be in your town next week. And I will share YouTube links to each of these performers. Either it's a live performance from each of these performers, or in one case, it might be like them in like, whatever you want to call a video, an artistic studio kind of video. Cowboy Junkies are coming through town again. I saw the Cowboy Junkies a year or two ago here in town, and I was super impressed by the huge variety of guitar tones, including some pretty, wild effects used on the electric guitar. That was very, very, very cool. Timmons, Andy Timmons, if I hope I'm getting his name right, from the Cowboy Junkies. They're coming through my town. They might be coming through your town. A young guitar player I was not familiar with, Selwyn Birchwood, and I really dug the video of him in concert that I found on YouTube. So I'm going to share that video. Selwyn Birchwood, Selwyn. He's coming through town. Talisk, high energy Scottish band, Talisk, Talisk. Very fun video that I'm going to share with you in the description of this live stream. And Mason Jennings, a songwriter named Mason Jennings, young guy, is also coming through town. So all 4 of those people are worth checking out, and I hope you do. Hey, you know what else I hope? I hope you follow me on Instagram or Facebook. Just go to Instagram or Facebook, do a search for the term SongBike, all one word, SONGBIKE. And I don't post anything too crazy. Mostly promoting this show and promoting any other stuff I got going on. Charlie Beagle says, I love the Cowboy Junkies version of Sweet Jane. Yeah, for a lot of us, that's the first that's how they got on our map. And actually I'm sharing a link of them performing Sweet Jane in concert. That's the link I'll be sharing in the description of this video. That's who's in town this week. All right. Hey, don't put your guitar away. Let's do our second picking etude. I'm going to close down that. I'm going to close down this. I'm going to close down that. Okay. And I'm going to pull up this. And okay. We are about to do a minor key picking etude. There we go, right there. And again, I'm going to spend time teaching you the first line. Ooh, this is going to be huge on your screen. Get ready. Don't fall out of your chair. Because if you can play the first line, you're going to do great. Okay, there it is. Who is that big? You guys know I'm a little bit nearsighted, so the font can never be too big as far as I'm concerned. I'm going to be able to reach out and touch it and taste it. Okay, I'm going to be quiet for a minute and just play that first line, just the first line. What I want is... Okay, just like the picking etude we did earlier. Picking hand, down, up, down, up, down, up. The upstroke is always on the 3rd string, G string, 2nd fret. Okay? The significant thing for your fretting hand, your middle finger. My students know I affectionately call that your swear finger. Your swear finger is going to I love that. Is going to be rooted, planted, glued down to the 3rd string, 2nd fret. Your ring finger must stay on the G string, 2nd fret. It's going to stay there, glued down. See my finger right there? It has to be your middle finger. Once you put it there, do not lift it off, at least not for the first line. Now your index and ring finger then are going to have to take care of the notes on the 5th and 4th strings, while your middle finger stays glued down to the 3rd string, 2nd fret. Now this is a little bit unusual for your fretting hand, but it's not hard. It's not like some weird chord, you know. That's not going to be a huge challenge. It's just going to take you a little bit to get this new perspective, to get used to this new perspective. By the way, see how it says A minor in parentheses up above? You will not be actually fretting an A minor chord. That's why it's in parentheses. But you're doing notes. You'll be playing notes that reflect an A minor chord. Someone else could be strumming an A minor chord in the background while you do this. There's a lot of reasons to label it. Also just makes it easy to talk about. When I say, okay, let's do the A minor section, everybody knows what I'm talking about. But do not even think about holding down an actual A minor chord, because you won't be able to do all the things you need to do. Okay, so questions, comments about that first line? My priority is not getting all you guys to play it perfectly right this second. My priority is to explain it well, and just so you know what's going on. Down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. Okay, I'm hearing that this one is not showing up as well. I get it. Okay, hang in there, because I'm seeing it on my screen. And typically what that means is that it's going to take a little bit, like it's just a matter of time before it shows up on your screen. I don't think there's anything else I can do. That's okay. Hang in there. Hang in there. Yep, there it is. Isn't that funny? Who knows why, man? Who knows? I mean, in this case, I'm sharing like a boring PDF document. So wouldn't you think this would load instantly and it would be the websites that would take longer? I don't know. But thank you for letting me know when you cannot see it, because now I know to take a minute and review everything I just said. I was inspired here by that Mel Bay exercise with essentially a C major chord and G major chord. I was inspired for lots of reasons, including that what they wrote in this Mel Bay book, it was listenable, it was pleasant. And this is listenable in its own minor key, kind of dark Halloween. There's a sincerity, you know, to the minor sound here. The Wolf says video is restored. Excellent. Okay, so again, I'm going to make this big, because all I want you to think about for the moment is just that first line, because the first line is where you assemble all the skills you need to play the rest of it. The skills that include planting your middle finger, your second finger, your swear finger on the 3rd string, 2nd fret. Just plant it there, glue it there. It's not going to leave ever until we go on to the second line. Okay, that means your index and ring fingers are going to have to make themselves available for the other notes on the A string and on the D string. Okay? Now, and again, it's not about can you play it perfectly right this second. Don't worry about that. It's about, is your teacher doing his job? Okay, the next one. I just scrolled up there. The next one, you are going to be reflecting a D minor chord. Do not hold down a D minor chord, although I'll say this. It's going to be your ring finger planted where it would be for a D minor chord. Ring finger planted on the 2nd skinny string, B string, 3rd fret. And again, that leaves 2 fingers, your index and middle, to put in the other melody notes. Now this will sound the most like Paint It Black, because Paint It Black is it's a D minor riff, and this is a D minor riff, so they have a lot in common. It's not exactly the same as Paint It Black, but it's, your family is going to assume you're working on Paint It Black. Doesn't that sound great? It's not even hard. It's not hard if you glue your, in this case, your ring finger to the second string, third fret. Just glue it down. And you, hey, look at the, on the bright side, you got your two most confident fingers, your index and middle are, you know, are what you have to work with. So this line is not going to be the hardest line in the piece. Cool sound. Okay, I'm going to scroll up a little bit. Okay, the next one, the E7. And again, this PDF is going to be available very soon. After the conclusion of this live stream, it'll be available at song-bike.com. Okay, even though this whole thing is in a minor key, you got the, you know, notes that reflect an A minor chord, notes that reflect a D minor chord. These notes reflect an E7 chord, which is obviously not a minor chord, but it's going to still add to the overall minor vibe. Okay, now this one potentially could be the easiest of them all. The upstrokes are all going to be the open skinny first string, which we saw on picking Etude number 3, right? In fact, this has a lot in common with the previous page, but by the way, the last two notes I played, that 4 on the 6th string and the 0, yeah, it sounds unresolved, right? It sounds like, well, wait a minute, we can't be done. And of course, we're not done right there. So one more time, this line where the notes reflect an E7 chord. That brings us to the last, the conclusion here. Wingo says it's similar to Malagueña. Yeah, you got it. You got it. That same kind of minor key, A minor, E7 kind of vibe. Wingo, you are totally right. Okay, now you guys heard me say previously that I like when even a humble exercise has something kind of fun at the end, right? As opposed to simply a repeat of something you did at the beginning of the exercise. So for a few reasons, the conclusion here is just a down, up, A harmonic minor scale. Now for a dramatic effect, you can slow down as you do it. Ooh, you know what? Even though I didn't write this on there, you could, instead of just playing that 2 at the end, you could strum an A minor chord as a substitution. Ooh, dramatic. Right? So hey, from me to you, that'll be our little inside secret. Instead of just playing that 2 right there, yeah, make the last thing an A minor chord, or even just add on the A minor chord. Okay, so why did I specifically write that thing on there? Every note on this whole page, every note that we just did, is a note from that scale. It might be a higher or lower octave, but you know that it shares, every note you played has the same name as one of those notes in that scale. So that scale is the source of everything you just played. And pretty much any song that you ever play, there's a scale that's the source of everything in the song. What the singer sings, they're singing notes from a specific scale. And all the background chords are drawn from the same scale. And that's why it sounds like a song, you know? So to give this exercise a little personality at the end, I kind of brought it all home with the A harmonic minor scale, because you've been playing the A harmonic minor scale throughout this whole page. You just didn't know it. Or maybe you did know it. So, okay. Again, I'm going to shrink this down a little bit so you can see the whole thing. Boop, boop, zooming out, zooming out, zooming out. And we're going to scroll up a little bit. Okay, there we go. I'm calling this picking Etude number 4. Picking hand, down, up, down, up, down, up. Picking constantly. And your fretting hand, especially for the first 2 lines, your challenge, my challenge to you, is keeping either the middle finger or the ring finger glued down for the entire line, right? I know I'm making a big deal about that, but that's the one thing that can go horribly wrong on this page. I know some of you are saying, oh, there's plenty of other things that can go wrong. I know. But for sure, if you don't glue down your middle finger for the first line and your ring finger for the second line, it's going to be, you're going to be just chasing the notes, and it's going to be crazy, you know. If you do glue down those fingers, so to speak, you'll pick up on the overall pattern, you know, quicker. You get more success quicker, and that's the goal. Okay, so there you go. A little lesson from me to you. A segment that I've taken to calling WTF, a weekly teaching feature. Stuff that I've been doing this week with my in-person or online students, and I'm sharing it with you because you deserve it. Why not? Why not, man? Why not? Okay, checking stuff off. For you Bob Dylan fans out there, you guys know I'm a big fan, and I just got a new book, and the good news is it's cool, and the bad news is it's sold out. But maybe the writer, maybe he will do another run. There's a young man named Ray Padgett, and Ray Padgett is a Bob Dylanologist. I'm going to share some links to Ray's online profile. And Ray Padgett, well, he wrote a book that called Pledging My Time, which is available, I believe, just on every place you go. It's a ton of interviews with musicians who have played with Bob Dylan over the years and what their experiences were like. Awesome book. And I believe that book is commercially available. This one was a little project he did, printed up 500 copies. I got one, and at the moment it's sold out. I don't know if he's going to do another run. So what is it? Okay. A day-by-day recount of Bob Dylan's famous Rolling Thunder tour from 1975 with pictures, stories, and literally every show. How many shows altogether? 31 shows altogether. 31 shows culminating in a big show in Madison Square Garden. The whole Rolling Thunder tour, day by day, just and it's for each show, it talks about the venue, the show and the set list and any changes, any on-stage comments that were made, any special guests at the show, contemporary reviews, which is kind of cool, man. Imagine the work you had to do to go back and find concert reviews of all 31 concerts in local papers and stuff. When I say paper, for those of you, I mean newspapers. When I was your age, we all read newspapers. A segment called What Everyone Do Before the Show. Anyways, very cool book. It's called The Rolling Thunder 75 Day by Day, 75 meaning 1975. Ray Padgett, P-A-D-G-E-T-T, Ray Padgett. And like I said, in the description of this live stream, I'll put some links to how you can learn more about Ray and what he does online. I think you'll dig it. I want to share that with you because why not? And hey, you know, I don't see what would stop him from printing out another big batch. But I don't know. Self-publishing, I know, is not easy stuff. Okay, let's check in with our poll question. Did you vote? Hope you voted. The poll question of the night is: are scales boring? And the results are staying pretty consistent. I forget, you guys can see the results at the moment, right? You can see what I'm seeing. I think you can. Remind me in the chat if you can see the current results. The answers include, yeah, scales are boring. Number 2, you can stand playing scales a little bit. And the third option, I love scales so much. So please do vote in the poll. I'm very curious. I do not know who you are. I do not know who the votes, who's voting how. Don't worry about that. But I'm just curious. And I'll say, I think you guys can see the results, but I'll say that they are somewhat divided. I mean, they're, you know, not evenly divided, but, you know, little few votes everywhere, you know. So don't be shy. Rock Lobster confirms you guys can see the results. Okay, so then you know that 62% of you can stand scales a little bit. a little bit, almost 2/3. You can deal with it. 17% say no. Scales are boring. I do not want to play scales. So you answer yes to the question. Are scales boring? 17% say yes. Scales are boring. And 21% say you love scales so much. I'm a scale guy. That doesn't mean everyone has to be. Every once in a while I'll read or be aware of, experienced musicians who advise against, blindly, endlessly repeating scales over and over again. And I'm always curious. It's not a problem most of us have, that we've spent 3 hours playing scales and we, are going to either benefit or suffer from that. Most of us do not. It's not an issue. But I do like to see, I'm always curious when someone says something provocative, like, I don't think anyone should ever practice scales. Of course, that gets my attention. Hey, okay, I'm going to close this down. Other things that I want to share with you guys include, check. Okay. You guys know I got some new gear a little while ago, and I have every intention of showing you guys the gear. And the only problem is it's a big old cabinet with two 10-inch speakers. And it's a little bit tricky for me to get it set up and plugged in. It's not tricky at all. It takes a minute, and I'm usually scrambling before our show. So, but I'll show you. I'll give you a taste, because I can't wait to show you the specifics. Okay, we're about to load a website from Milkman Sound, and you may see this on your screen shortly. Milkman Sound is really actually about half a dozen employees total. San Francisco, California, and very, very cool company, very cool background. And I always wanted to get some stuff from Milkman Sound, especially an amplifier. So I traded in a whole bunch of stuff a couple weeks ago at Empire Guitars out of Providence, Rhode Island. And so I traded a bunch of stuff. So I had to go shopping. I knew they had some stuff that I would be interested in. What I didn't know was what they would have from Milkman Sound, which deep down, I definitely wanted something from Milkman. I didn't know they had Milkman stuff. Okay, so sorry to be scrolling here. I'll try to hold this steady. So Milkman Sound out of San Francisco, California. So what did I get? Well, I'll show you the brains. I'll call this the brains. I got this. Okay. I got one new thing, which is this thing, and one used thing. Okay, so everybody see this okay on the screen? I got a little unit that Milkman calls the amp, and it's like a nice thick little book. If you imagine, it's bigger than a typical little paperback, but it's not as big as a massive dictionary. Just a nice little unit. 50 watts of tube tone. Now, what attracted me to this piece of equipment here? Lots of things. I did not pay $749. I just traded in a whole bunch of stuff that was worth more than $749. And that's how I acquired the amp from Milkman. Okay, so this doesn't have any speaker or anything. This has an output that goes to a cabinet with speakers. So what attracted me to this, other than the fact that it's a very cool company of 6 people out in California? Okay, well, first of all, 50 watts of power is certainly more than I ever need. So, got the power covered. It's got reverb, tremolo. Anyone remember that Office? Angela, Brownies. Angela, anybody? Okay, reverb and tremolo. What else do you need, man? And of course, you can control the exact reverb and tremolo, specifics there with knobs. You got volume, you got a master volume. That means you can crank up the individual volume right there. And, to the point where the guitar tone is going to start to distort. But the master volume can keep it at a nice low volume. It's portable. You can take it with you anywhere. You know, if there's a cabinet with speakers already at the place you're going, then you just bring this and plug it into the cabinet. Very cool. It's set up so it can work with voltages all over the world. So when I do my tour of India, I don't know, you know, I can take my little Milkman and plug it in anywhere. It has a direct out for recording. It has a direct out for headphones. Let's see, can I how can I show you guys? It's fighting me here. I want to show you guys more pictures. There we go. Okay, there's the stuff in the back. Ooh, lots of stuff going on here. That's the front. There's the headphone input right there. I can practice in Music Fan 1004. Won't hear me too loud. I first came across this unit. I was trying out guitars at a very cool shop in Lexington, Massachusetts, called the Music Emporium. And it was the quietest guitar shop I'd ever been in because everybody was plugged into these and trying out electric guitars with headphones on. And I thought that's a pretty good recommendation where a guitar store, especially a place that specializes in high-end stuff, when they this is what they provide, so you can try out their, you know, $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 guitars. You have the option, the great option of hearing it through this unit right here. So that's one thing I did with all the trade-in credit I got. And the other thing, I'm not gonna be able to show you too. I'm gonna have to get a picture for you. Look at all this stuff. Ooh, I didn't get any of that stuff. None of that stuff. I don't know if he shows his cabinets. I got a pretty cabinet. Ooh, so pretty. Look at all those. Oh, I'll share the link to Milkman, but it's just milkmansound.com. Okay, there we go. I got a speaker cabinet, except it was used. Saved me a lot of money as opposed to that amount right there. And it's got two 10-inch speakers, and they're Jupiter speakers. And it had been a custom order that someone had ordered. So instead of that nice little tweedy look, it's more of a very dark brown, almost black screen right there. No, it's okay with me. And instead of having a typical handle on the top like that, it's recessed down into the cabinet, like a heavy duty kind of metal plastic kind of handle that's recessed down in there. Very hip. And someone got it and traded it back in, I guess, to Empire Guitars. So I got it. So it's got the one I have, two 10-inch speakers. Yeah, why not? And that dark screen. And now you guys know. So I just figured I'd share that with you. And I enjoy it very much. The sound is great. And someday I'll get a cute little head to go on top. We'll see if Santa Claus can make this happen. I'll get something that like that. Would it be that one? No, because I wanted to get one with there we go. Something like that, but as a head. Oh, not that one. That one. Ooh, pretty. Okay, so we'll see if Santa Claus can make that happen. Come on, Santa. 3,000. That's a lot of super chats. Maybe not. Maybe Santa Claus might need a couple Christmases to make that happen. Anyways, that'll sit on top someday, and just to make a matching set. And I have to get it with that dark. I'll have to get a custom one with that dark, you know, screen, so to speak, to match the speaker. All right. Thank you for indulging me, you guys. You know, and my basement and my music shop are a lot emptier now. A whole bunch of stuff. You guys probably have some of this type of equipment stuff. A whole bunch of stuff I just was not going to use. Its time had expired. And hey, you know, if you're lucky enough to have a place in your community that wants trade-ins, I mean, that's happy to take stuff as a trade-in, man, take advantage of it. Phil McKnight from the Know Your Gear channel repeatedly gives some very good advice, which is if you can ever foresee yourself buying the equipment again, the stuff that you're thinking about trading in, but you think someday you might essentially buy it back, okay, then it's not time to let go of it yet. Don't do it. In my case, I looked around at the stuff I was not using. I thought, nope, I don't need any of this stuff. And filled my little pickup truck to the brim. And yeah, my home and my music shop are now less cluttered. And I got cool stuff. So very fun. No regrets. No regrets. All right, you guys. Now, I'm still here for your questions. There are a bunch of things that I might save for next time, but we covered a lot of stuff. Check. Covered a lot of stuff. All right, I'm looking in the chat to see what you guys are talking about. You guys are voting. Excellent. I appreciate the super chat donations. Charlie Beagle, I see your comment talking about scales. It's like his mom used to say, I can take him in small doses, meaning some exercises, some stuff you can do a little bit, but maybe your heart isn't into doing, some exercises for a solid hour. I get that. Hey, Paul is checking in. Paul, thank you for checking in from the UK, right, Paul? There you go. Yeah. Nice to see you, Paul. Okay, it is not too late. We're on the downhill slope here of our live stream, but it's not too late for your questions. Don't forget to put a couple of question marks in advance while you think of a question. I'm going to wet my whistle with a little more cider from Leominster, Massachusetts. Wow, that's good. I'm hoping that the apple cider they're producing around here now in New England is made from apples that are falling off the trees right now. I figure all winter long and early in the spring and summer, it's a cider that might have been frozen for a while. Barry says, Jonathan, how important do you think dynamics are in strumming? I think extremely important, and I'm so glad you asked. It took me a while to realize when I was teaching people that I was saying one thing and doing something more sophisticated. So I'd say, oh, like grab a G chord or E minor. Let's do E minor. Grab it. I'd say grab an E minor chord and strum down, up, down, up. And I'd be going like. So technically my hand is going down, up. But, sooner or later a student caught me and said, well, wait a minute, when you go down, up, it doesn't sound all the same. And they were correct. And I realized, geez, man, yeah, you can't just tell people to go downs and ups when you yourself or the actual recording has dynamics, has certain strums that are louder or softer. And that's Barry, getting to your question here. What's simpler than going down and up on the guitar, right? And yet there's so many possible variations, so to speak, so much texture that's available to you by making certain strums louder or softer, by emphasizing heavier strings or skinnier strings. So my students actually made me far more aware of what I was doing, because they would call me on it. They'd say, well, when you do it, you don't. Yeah. I'd say, you're right. So let's talk about that. So yeah, so dynamics are super important. Plus, say you're singing or someone else is singing, realistically, you want to play a little softer during the singing part, right? And then bring the volume up, when they're not singing, or at least consider bringing the volume up. But for sure, you want to be sensitive to the singer, including yourself if you're the singer. So yeah, so dynamics, super important. There's the performance dynamics, like supporting a singer. And then there's just the second by second, moment by moment skill of making certain things louder or softer, giving things some texture. Yeah. How about I'm doing a nice little E shuffle. No dynamics, right? And hey, if that's how the song goes, great, but doesn't have too much personality, right? As opposed to, I'm going to really emphasize the downstroke. That was all downstrokes, by the way. I'm going to really emphasize the downstroke when my ring finger comes down on the 5th string, 4th fret. Nice little backbeat. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's some personality there, right? Yeah. All, dynamics can be written in with various symbols like accents and stuff. Sometimes I'll see stuff with the dynamics written in, but often they don't write it in. And so how are you supposed to ever even learn it as a skill if it's not presented there? And that can be a little frustrating. So bottom line is, as you get better and better at whatever the song is asking you to do, the chords, whatever, the strum pattern, as you get better and better at the basics for a song, you can start applying things like louder or softer strums, emphasizing the heavier strings or the lighter strings. Especially if you're doing a tune, a famous song, right? You always want to go back and listen as closely as possible. Slow it down on a YouTube if possible, and keep returning to the original recording to try to pick up on little subtle things like that. Your ear gets better and better, picking up on dynamics and subtle stuff. In the beginning, I remember my little journey on the guitar. I remember very early on becoming aware that there were chord changes during a song. Got it. Okay. And I had a few songbooks around the house. My mom and dad had a songbook around the house. The greatest hits of the 60s, that famous greatest hits of the 60s piano, vocal, guitar songbook. Had Monday, Monday by the Mamas and the Papas. I remember that one was in there. So you could look and you could see all the different chords throughout the song. But I thought, wait a minute, what if I'm trying to figure out by ear what the chord changes are? And I thought, oh my God, how would I possibly know when the song is changing chords? I felt overwhelmed. Like if it's in a book, great. If it's not in a book, how am I supposed to know when they change? How would I even possibly know what the second chord is or the third chord? How would I possibly know? And that's fair. Yeah, at first you have no way of knowing that kind of stuff, which is why it's helpful to learn a bunch of songs, from a teacher, from Ultimate Guitar, from a video. So you begin to see patterns. Your ear gets better and better. Chord families, and then when you're working on a tune that's not posted on ultimateguitar.com, or you just want to test your ear and see if you can figure out a tune without going online and see what the chord changes are, you'll have a better chance of getting a grasp on a tune if you've done a whole bunch of other tunes. You'll be able to take educated guesses. Your ear is better. But Barry, just getting back to your point, just in what we all might consider pretty rudimentary strumming on the guitar and songs that employ kind of rudimentary strumming, there's all this subtle stuff that potentially might be in there, Watcher Dan says, scales are the keys to all music, are they not? Yes, they are. They are. But that doesn't mean everybody is willing to take part of their practice time and quote just play scales, and that is what prompted that question. Scales are the best way to get to know your instrument, and scales are amazing exercise for your fretting fingers, and especially if you practice scales with alternate picking and or practice scales without looking at your picking hand and just trusting your picking hand to find the right strings. Scales are amazing for your picking hand. Then they're good for your brain, for your hand-eye coordination, for your memory, just everything. Scales are, in my strong opinion, is a portion of your practice time should not only be practicing scales, but be practicing so I was just saying a certain amount of your practice time should not be playing a scale, but playing a scale you've never done before. Yeah, give yourself 5 minutes, 10 minutes, get a big fat scale book. And for 5 minutes of your practice time, do a scale you've never done before, some exotic sounding mode or scale. If I could go back in time, that's what I would do. And as a kid, I wasn't against doing scales, but because I didn't take lessons, I had no one telling me, hey man, learn a new scale every day, 5 minutes. And when I say learn, doesn't mean you have to commit it to memory, but just spend 5 minutes doing it, you know? Poopa John says, are scales and modes the same? Yeah, a mode is a scale, but instead of starting on the first note of the scale and going to the eighth, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, you start on any other scale. Any other note from the scale and play 8 notes. So a G major scale, very familiar sound. I'm going to play a G major scale. I'm just not going to start with the first note. I'm going to start with the second note, the note A. And I'm going to play 8 notes. And the net result is going to be a little bit different. And if I strum an A minor chord, I'm beginning to brainwash you guys. I know that's an unfortunate term. I'm still playing notes from a G major scale, but because of how I'm playing them and the fact that I'm strumming an A minor chord, I'm making that G major scale into something new because I'm changing your perspective by starting on the second note of the G major scale, which is A, and by occasionally strumming an A minor chord, I'm getting twice the bang for my buck. I'm getting 2 different uses of the G major scale. The second thing I did there is known as the A Dorian mode. It just means a G scale starting on A instead, the Dorian mode. So yeah, so scales and modes are the same. And so, hey, if you learn a major scale and you can play it up and down, back and forth, you're great at just any major scale, you've automatically learned a whole bunch of modes. There's seven modes, right? Well, six. The major scale itself is called the Ionian mode. It's just the major scale. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, there's 6 modes. Who told us? Are you there, DAC Poet? Didn't DAC Poet, wasn't she the one who taught us, if you want to remember the names of the modes, you say, I don't particularly like modes a lot. No, like I don't particularly like modes. What is it? Ionian, Dorian, Phrygian, Lydian, Mixolydian, Aeolian, Locrian. Okay, there's the 7. And if you just say, I don't particularly like modes a lot, that's a mnemonic to help you remember the names of the modes. But don't get overwhelmed by any of that stuff. It all starts with a major scale. It ends with a major scale. Even minor scales. Everything is usually discussed in terms of how it relates to a major scale. Okay, so this all started with an excellent question. Are scales and modes the same? And yeah, I certainly want to convince you that they're the same. You can talk about modes in a more complicated way, but I don't, and I wouldn't. I don't recommend it. And as Charlie Beagle points out, the most famous mode of them all, the Depeche mode. Charlie, you got it, the Depeche mode. How about the Payala? There's a good mode, the Payala mode. That's my kind of mode. On that note, thank you guys. A couple little glitches in today's live stream, but nothing we couldn't handle. Not you and me. We handled it just fine. Thank you for being here. The final poll results. Are scales boring? 16% say yeah. 62% say, I can stand doing some scales a little bit. And 22%, I love scales so much. All right. There you go. Oh, Danielle, I like your strategy there. Danielle says, I like to play a phrase on strings 5, 4, and 3, and then on strings 4, 3, and 2, and then on 3, 2, and 1. Excellent. That sounds very methodical. I like that. Very cool. Very cool. Randy is getting into rehearsals for the Nutcracker. Might be a little late joining us here in the live stream in the future, Randy. You get a free pass on that one. I get that. All I can say is break a leg. All right, you guys. Thank you for being here. Don't forget to follow me on the socials, Instagram or Facebook. Just do a search for SongBike. You'll find me. Become a member of my website, song-bike.com, and you'll get access to a whole bunch of PDFs, the ones we talked about tonight, but also there's dozens and dozens of other PDFs on there, plus videos, plus all sorts of stuff. You can order books. Hey, don't forget to get yourself a free blues guide from song-bike.com. It's free. And there's a video that accompanies it. You're going to love it. All right, that's going to do it for me. Thanks for being here, everybody. Thank you to Music Fan for being our moderator tonight. Thanks for being here, Music Fan. My mom sometimes is watching. Hey, Mom, hope you're doing well. My son is under the weather. Son, I love you so much. I hope you feel better soon. And I'll see the rest of you next Saturday. Okay, you guys, take care. Bye now.